Hello, everybody. Happy 2018. Hope 2017 was good to you. It was good to me. Thanks in no small part to you guys, the listeners. So thanks for liking and listening and subscribing to the Explicit Materia podcast, the podcast where a nerdy drummer talks to his friends about stuff and things. Hopefully, we can keep this thing going and keep it entertaining for you guys for the next year, for 2018. So, for this episode, Evan McKee makes a triumphant return after being gone for so long. We talk about The Last of Us. We talk about video games. The Last of Us I've finally started playing. It. I know, it's crazy, right? We talk about difficulty in gaming, and perhaps maybe bringing back the ability to cheat in console games. And we also talk about swatting and why it should be a much more serious offense than it currently is. As always, you can follow me on social media, Twitter @TheWiseDrums, Instagram @WiseDrums, Facebook WiseDrums, YouTube.com/WiseDrums, or follow the Explicit Materia Facebook page. All right, let's go ahead with episode 20. Evan McKee, the guest so good, we had to do it all over again.
Here I am. I came right back.
Here we are. Here you are.
Or you just don't have anybody else, and here I am.
No, dude. Absolutely not.
Shane, boost my self-esteem right now by telling everyone how awesome I am in 3 ways.
In 3 ways. Well, you're a fantastic musician. You're incredibly intelligent, and you're a damn good dancer. How about that? That's something not a lot of people know about you.
I forgot about that magical night we shared under the stars, ballroom dancing. But you forgot humble, so we have to record this whole podcast again.
Oh, man.
Can I tell you what I have paused right now? I was playing while we were setting this up. I was playing Saints Row 4. Have you played any of the Saints Row games?
No, I've not.
I feel like you would really, really enjoy them. It's basically, I love what they are, and what they are is basically just somebody took Grand Theft Auto and was like, I'm going to make this, but I'm going to take out all the crappy parts and make the good parts even better. And it's like Grand Theft Auto times 1,000,000. It's so much fun.
Yeah,
and go ahead.
I mean, I see clips of it all the time, and I've just never really got into those. You said play that Saints Row 4.
That's right.
Saint Rose. And you've told me to play Just Cause.
Yeah, well, they both do this thing, I think, that I really respect in a game development. And the developers got to a point, they got to a fork in the road. And on one side was realism and seriousness and awards, and adding in weapon durability and lost clips and some, everything that a serious game has, right? And then on the other side is fun, and they chose fun, and that's how Just Cause 3 came to be, and that's how Saints Row came to be, was that they were like, we're never going to say, that's not realistic, so we don't want that. Are you that kind of game? Like, have you ever thought to yourself, I wish this were less realistic so I could do this fun thing?
Well, I'm actually experiencing the opposite right now as I'm playing The Last of Us, which you and CC both have said you haven't played The Last of Us. What is wrong with you?
Oh yeah, so much.
And remember when this happened years ago, you actually let me borrow your copy of Last of Us on the PS3, the original version. And I borrowed it for maybe 2 weeks, and I played it for maybe 2 hours, and I got frustrated, and I gave it back to you.
Okay.
And so I've replayed it again, the PS4 remastered version, because I need to figure out what all the fuss is about. Because people, constantly say that this is one of the best games that's ever been made.
It's
right?
a have-to-play game. You don't have to like it, but you have to play it through at least once, or else you're not an actual video game connoisseur.
So
That's what that means.
yeah, that's what that means. You're not a true gamer unless you play
Oh,
Last
no,
of
yeah,
Us.
exactly. Unless you like everything I like and hate everything I hate.
Exactly. So, I wanted to see what all the fuss is about, and I'm, God dang it, I'm just going to get through it. I'm going to power through, because I'm actually not very good at survival horror games. I wasn't really good at Resident Evil games either, and we'll get into that a little bit later, because there's another topic I want to talk to you about, regarding hard games and me not liking hard games, or games with a little bit too much challenge for my liking. But anyway, so yeah, I'm powering through Last of Us, and I love it. I love the game. The game is great. The reasons why, here's the things that kind of piss me off a little bit about survival horror games in general, but I'm going to pick on Last of Us just for a little bit. Now, I'm just going to say for everybody involved that Last of Us is an amazing game. Okay? It's incredible. Okay. Naughty Dog deserves all the awards it's been granted. Okay? Now. Okay. I'm a very particular picky kind of gamer, okay? So, I'm playing Last of Us, and I'm starting to play this literally within the first 2 hours. The same spot I stopped before when I played the game the first time. Why is it, and maybe you can answer this to me, why is it that this is supposed to be kind of a realistic, kind of low ammo, gonna scare you because you don't have all the tools to survive kind of game? Why is it that I strangle a dude that I know has a fucking machine gun full of ammo? Why is it that when I strangle him and kill him dead, and I know he hasn't fired any shots in that gun, why is it that I can't fucking pick up his gun? Is his gun lava?
Yeah, well, if you'd seen the movie Judge Dredd, you would know that unless your fingerprint matches the trigger, okay, the gun actually explodes and kills you. And that's, that's true. That's for that game. That's for Ninja Gaiden, where the first level is like ninjas, and you're like, yeah, I'm going to fight ninjas. And then they give the ninjas machine guns, and they're like, have fun with your ninja skills against guns, you weak idiot. Yeah, exact same way. Oh, yeah, super frustrating. So you would want, in that case, a small enough dollop of realism where they're like, I can pick up the gun that was just dropped by this guy. I can pick up the machine gun. That's really funny.
Right, there's that, and and just this happens with a lot of survival horror, or let's like adventure games, really, where, there's a path that's blocked. But in real life, like, dude, you can climb up this. It's just a couple of rocks. All right, dude, just climb it up. Climb up there, and you can pull Ellie up. And there's another parts where he's in the water, and he's swimming around, and he's like looking up at this ledge, which is obviously arm length, and he's obviously strong enough to strangle. He's strong enough to strangle 17 dudes in 5 minutes, but he's not strong enough to pull his own weight up to the ledge and get to the other side.
It's cracking me up picturing you playing the game that's one of the greatest games of all time, and it's flawless in every way, and you're like, hello, arm's length ledge.
Yeah, again, I'm a very picky gamer, especially when it comes to challenge, because I play games. The reason why I play video games, and the reason why I love them so much, is because it gives me a feeling of, it's a good escape. It's like we're escaping into a dream world where
we can't climb out of water. Right?
Where
Is that what you meant?
No, where you're the hero, and it's I don't know. It's a fun little escape for me. But
so if a video game causes you stress, it's not doing what it's designed to do. Is that what you mean?
For me, it's not doing what it's designed to do for me. Now, it's probably doing what it's designed to do for all the other players who are out there who want a challenge and who want, to be stressed out and to have that feeling of accomplishment. I get that. I totally do. But for me, if we're going to be honest here, if we're playing video games, we're escaping into a dream world where we are the hero, right? And so why in your dream do you want to be stressed out and work really hard at something? Because, in the real world, we have to work really hard at anything in order to get by. real life sucks sometimes, and you can't, no matter how hard you try, you just can't get there. But then when you get there, it's a feeling of accomplishment, and you love it, and you're like, yeah, I'm a person, I can do things. Why would you want to bring that into an escape into a dream world? Why is your dream to be stressed out? Like, people who love the Dark Souls games, what are you, sadists? I cannot
know I know those people are out there, but I am not those people. I just aren't. And I hope you're ready to talk about difficulty now, because I kind of want to, because we're building up some steam here.
Yeah.
I agree with you I agree with everything that you just said most of the time. And what I mean by that, I think you'll recognize what I mean when I say that there's more than one kind of difficulty, or there's more than one kind of way to make a game hard. If you make a game and then you say, okay, I just made normal mode. Now hard mode is when all the enemies have 4 times the health. And then easy mode is when all the enemies have 1/4 the health. That's lazy. Like, you didn't really change anything. You just made the person that wants to play hard do something tedious. And if you have to do something tedious instead of fun on hard mode, like, then it's not worth it, right? I mean, For me, fun is key. And there are people for whom fun means that the first time they try the game, they die, and they have to go back again. I've always had, like, my rule of thumb as far as enemy difficulty is it has to be easy to kill yourself by doing nothing. As in, if you stand there and you don't move, then your death should come quickly, because if it doesn't, it means that you're not really overcoming anything by beating these enemies. You're not doing anything different than just not doing anything. If death comes swiftly, but you can keep it back by doing what you're doing, then that's a good game, a good level to do it. But I mentioned Ninja Gaiden before, and that was really a game that really sticks out in my mind, because the first I played through it. I had Ninja Gaiden Black on the Xbox, and Ninja Gaiden Black added something special called Ninja Dog mode, where it was easier. But Ninja Gaiden was already a game that was famous for being hard, so they didn't make it. They made it, a little bit easier and they made fun of you the whole time. They humiliated you for being such a pansy, right? This is one of those games. Well, I played through about half of it. And I remember thinking, like, that first mission was just the hardest thing I've ever done. That was close to impossible, was first level. And then I started up a new game, and I played the first level, and I breezed through it. I was barely hit once. And what had happened was, as far as the level of difficulty went, I had gotten better at the game. I had gotten better at playing the game. I had gotten faster. I knew what worked and what didn't. I knew kind of how to dodge and recover and how to do these things. And I respected that, because that to me is like, you have to learn something. You have to walk the way of the ninja a little bit to enjoy this game. And I thought that was so cool. So then there are other games where it's like, hard mode means you just sit there doing this thing over and over and over and just slamming your head against the enemy over and over and over until they die. And I don't feel a sense of accomplishment after I do the same one thing 1,000 times. That's not an achievement for me,
Yeah.
Would you agree? And there's even different ways to make an enemy harder to kill. There's a really, really cool video where this guy did some experimenting with Skyrim artificial intelligence. And what he did was he just made a cave. He populated it with a handful of wizards from Skyrim. They were lightning wizards. And then at every stage, he gave them more to do. He never made them harder. He never cranked up the difficulty on the game to make them have more health. But he gave them more options. He made it so that the enemies knew kind of the geometry of the room, and they could stand in certain places. He made it so that this one can set mines, and he knows where to set the mines. And the craziest thing, he programmed all this in, and in the end, the cave takes forever to load because it has all these. It's got these like 3 really really smart wizards in there. So he walked through all of the different ways that in a normal vanilla Skyrim playthrough you would kill these guys, no matter what difficulty they were on. You could still run up and smash them over and over with a sword, But he wanted not that. He wanted to make it so you had to do something else to kill him, and he found other creative ways to do it based on what he had taught these enemies. And I thought it was so cool because it was an example of like, it was an example of there's more than one way to make an enemy harder than just giving them more health. You can give more challenge. Now, I don't know how that would turn if you play on normal and you're used to normal, and then you go to hard and all of a sudden everybody has like a new trick that you've never seen before and you're not ready for. I don't know how that would play out. But I'm with you on Dark Souls. I tried to play through Dark Souls 3 and I was like, who likes this? Who enjoys being this bad in the beginning? And just, I guess it's like a rite of, it's a bragging thing or a rite of passage, but I got, there's really good and fun games out there that I need to get to before I waste my time with this nonsense where I just die over and over.
Yeah, and it's almost like, to my knowledge, Dark Souls doesn't really have, I don't know, I don't know, but I haven't heard anybody say, Dark Souls 3 is the best storyline ever created. I haven't heard anything about the storyline, so what's the point if you're just leveling up and grinding and figuring out what all these bosses do and and memorizing how to move and, not to, because that's basically what Dark Souls is. It's, you have to also memorize everybody's moves and you can't go in guns a-blazing. You got to be smart and intelligent. And I get why certain gamers would like that, because it brings back the difficulty of the old games back in Nintendo days where every game was like that.
Yeah, but think about why they were hard. In some cases, they were hard because nobody bothered to tell you like what you were supposed to be doing, or that red square would kill you, and you got to go for the yellow square instead. Stuff like you brought up cheat codes, and I thought would any of us have beaten GoldenEye 007? And gotten through that level called Egyptian, where you had to walk this certain way through the stones. You know what I'm talking about? To get the golden gun, you had to walk up 2, over 1, up, and there was no. That's a great example of a game that they told you way too little. Sometimes you were supposed to like throw something onto something. Sometimes you were supposed to leave it there. Sometimes you were supposed to like take it out and blow it up, and they never, honestly, you had to get Nintendo Power magazine just to figure out like what was happening in the game, which is probably what they were going for. But like, people harken back, the games in the old times, they were so much more difficult. Well, yeah, that's because there was a lot that was missing. There was a lot that we have now. Maybe we do take it for granted, but like, there's an expectation that these controls, right? This one's going to do this and this one's going to do this. They all are the same now. Back in the olden days, it was a crapshoot, Shane, and nobody has any idea what this one would do. This one wasn't jump. For some reason, A was forward. And it's like, I guess my point is there's more than one way to make a game hard. Even really, really easy games that I have breezed through, I get to a halfway point and they want me to do something that they didn't really tell me how or what. So you go online and they're like, well, you're supposed to run backwards and you were supposed to catch that, piece of paper that you didn't pick up 40 minutes ago. Well, that was hard, but it wouldn't have been hard if, the game was like designed differently. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, I just remember as a kid, I've thrown Nintendo controllers more than any other system in my life, and that's because, like back in the day, they had to extend the length of the game, and the only way they could have done that was through difficulty, and through repetition, and through pattern recognition. That's the only way they could extend the length of a game. I've never beaten Mario, the first one, because you know how many levels are in Mario? I don't know, but it's like 100. It's something like
You should watch a speed run and make yourself feel better about that. You know what? There are 100 levels. I think you're right.
I mean,
we didn't stay in Pizza Hut long enough for me to put enough quarters into the arcade and find out.
But that's actually why I started playing RPGs. It was because I remember my first real role-playing game I ever played was Chrono Trigger. And
great game.
So my story with Chrono Trigger is that my mother rented it for me. Me and my mother, we would go to the video store, and it wasn't Blockbuster. It was one of those mom and pop video stores, like Video Right.
Yeah, that if they're still open now, they're like 90% porn and 10% everything else. Yeah.
Exactly.
We have one of those down the street.
So
that's where I get my porn.
We rent Chrono Trigger, I bring it back home, and I just start playing it. And this is before I knew what New Game Plus was. Okay, and so I started the game in New Game Plus, and I'm killing everybody. I'm level 99. I don't know what level 99. I don't know what experience points is. I'm just going through the game, and then I'm loving the story, and I beat the game that way, or I almost beat the game, and I stopped playing.
Tell me what New Game Plus means in that game.
New Game Plus means you get to carry everything over from the previous game when you beat the game. So when you beat the game, you get to carry, your stats, all your weapons.
So were you working with an old save like somebody else had done? Okay.
Right. So it's a video store. Okay. So I rented a game that someone had already beaten. So I just did New Game Plus and carried over the other person's previous game. And I didn't know what that meant at the time.
So you made it through the entire game and you were like, I guess it's fun, but how come every enemy doesn't take 2 hits to kill? Take 2 hits to kill.
How old was I? I was 12 when that game came out. I don't know when that game. I was young, and I loved anime. I was like really into anime at that time, and it's just it was the same artist who did Dragon Ball Z, and I was really into Dragon Ball Z. So I love the aesthetic of it, the art style, like everything else besides the difficulty of the game was doing it enough for me to play through the game almost to the end. Now let me finish. So I take the game back and I don't finish the game. I convinced my mother to buy it for me for Christmas because I loved it so much.
Oh no.
Yeah. So she buys it for me for Christmas. I open it up. I'm so excited. I start playing the game, and I don't know what it means to level up or experience points. I don't know how any of this how any of this stuff works. And I go through it like the first boss of the stories. It's notably a lot harder this time. And I'm like, why is it so much harder? I never realized it was so much harder this time around. I don't get it. I don't know what's going on. Till I get to the dystopian future world and get to the boss there where the big robot comes down and you have to fight like the 2 mini bots on the side and the big huge triangle like boss or whatever.
You have to kill them first, right? You can't.
Yeah, there's a little
okay.
Yeah, there's a little strategery involved.
Yeah.
And at that point I started to look in the menus and I started to realize like, oh, that's what leveling up means. Oh, I get it now. I have to fight these little enemies to become stronger so I can fight the big dude and eventually go through this whole game. And then once I started doing that and starting to learn how to grind, then I realized, oh, I can grind forever and become this big strong dude and destroy all these little dudes and go and even destroy the bosses if I grind enough. So that's why I started playing RPGs, because that way of getting better doesn't involve a lot of like repetition or really a lot of difficulty, just some strategy here and there. But yeah, RPGs are so much easier in that way.
Well, sometimes there's grinding, right? If you want a bunch of levels and you're kind of in a place where you really need to grind, right? But for RPGs though, sometimes grinding is fun, and that's okay. And that's why I always say fun is king, because if you're playing a game and the game asks you to do something that's not fun, it's like that's a failure on the game part.
Right.
I'm trying to think of an example, but like there are some RPGs where it's so much fun to kill people that you don't mind grinding.
Yes,
it's not tedious at all.
There is actually a game that's like that, and it's really. It's the one that comes to mind immediately is this game called Magna Carta. Magna Carta 2, actually.
It sounds educational.
It's not. I don't even know why it's called Magna Carta. In truth, it's a terrible video game. It's awful, but the combat was so fun that I would put on, what would I put on? I would put on Nightwish. You know that metal band with two like opera singers? No, you don't know them.
Yeah.
Do you know them? Okay.
Yeah.
I would just put on Nightwish and just metal out as I'm battling all these dudes and leveling up and grinding. And the combat system was so fun and got me through the game. Even though the game was terrible, the voice acting was dog shit, and it was just the storyline was, you know, a regular JRPG storyline, which is kind of blah, 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 that's, you know, save the princess,
sacrifice,
tropes,
blah blah blah.
Yeah, all that stuff.
Yeah.
The protagonist is whiny.
That's actually, it's actually a law in Japan that if you make one of those and the protagonist is not whiny, then they don't release it.
Yeah.
Did you
right?
you know why I can't make fun? You're talking about not knowing how to level up until you kind of had to learn, and so the game like shocked you into this awakened knowledge.
Yeah.
I can't make fun of you. I can't make fun of 12-year-old you because I played through Phantasy Star 4 on the Sega Genesis, and I got all the way to Zio over and over and over. Zio was like the first like big bad. You know, of course, like any other RPG, you find out that really he's being controlled by an even more evil presence that you spend the rest of the game hunting. But anybody that's played Phantasy Star 4 will be shocked to hear this. I got all the way to Zio without knowing how to equip new weapons that I had. I thought you just bought the weapon and then we're automatically stronger. So I only fought against bosses, and anytime there was an enemy, I would run away. You had the option to run,
right.
And then you had like a 1 in 5 chance that they wouldn't let you, so I would just die. So I go from boss to boss, and then when I get to the bosses, you know, there's a 99 out of 100% chance that you die because you have terrible weapons and you haven't been keeping trouble with that. And so I would play it 100 times. I would get that one time and I would move on to the next boss. That's how I thought you played the game. I thought the difficulty ramp was so steep that after the first area, you just shoots up and everybody kills you. And I'm like, why can't I touch these guys? Why am I doing no damage at all?
Dumb, you know, stupid Americans,
it's because
right?
I was stupid.
Yeah, stupid Americans don't know how to play fucking role-playing games. You know, that's why they created Earthbound, right? They created not Earthbound, I'm sorry, it wasn't Earthbound, it was Final Fantasy Mystic Quest. Final Fantasy Mystic Quest was created by Squaresoft North American Division. It was the only game that game and Secret of Evermore, I believe, were the only two games from Squaresoft North American Division that they made only for American audiences. And Final
Fantasy,
because
of how sucky we are?
Oh, yeah. Well, it's just because we just didn't understand it, that type of game. It was huge over in Japan, but over here we were like, what's a role-playing game? What? Give me Zelda, okay? Give me Mario. What is this, Final Fantasy? Get the hell out of here.
RPG.
Yeah. And yeah, if you've ever played Final Fantasy Mystic Quest, you're like, how easy is this? It's so easy.
Oh, really?
You can, yeah, it's very, and the storyline is dumb. It's just very simple. The music is awesome, actually. I like the music a lot. But yeah, it looks more like, yeah, it's they're obviously catering to dumb people when you play the game.
Okay,
you know,
I would like that game. I feel like I would like that game.
It's actually, I found it fun. That's because I'm dumb. That's because I'm a dumb American, and you know, I like simplicity in my games more than anything else.
Is there a limit? Is there such a thing as a game that you've played that you were like, this is too easy, so it's not fun for me?
Let me think. I like the Dynasty Warrior games or the Samurai Warrior games. I love those games to a point, and after a while, you just get so overpowered and powerful that you're like, okay, now this is too easy. I can kill 500 people with one swoop of my spear.
I love those games for that exact reason. And then you in those games you get there, and then if you turn up the difficulty one more notch, then like the tiny peasant weakest warrior that you have to fight against is like harder than the boss of the game at the previous level. and you're like, who do they make these, difficulty levels for? Oh, okay, Japanese people.
Yeah.
No,
well, those warrior games have had a resurgence in popularity with the Dragon Quest warriors that just recently came out. I think the sequel just came out too. Are
you telling me there's games like Dynasty Warriors? Because
Yeah.
I'll get all of them.
Oh yeah, there's Dragon Quest. It's all the characters from Dragon Quest games. Zelda, they have a Zelda Warriors now. Yeah, it's a thing, man. Koei
is right. Another thing that I thought was really cool about Dynasty Warriors, and I wish more games would do this. You have like 64 characters to choose from that are all, one of 4 factions. And depending on which one you pick, you get a different storyline and different branches along with it. There was no 2 characters that had the same like path. And I thought that was awesome.
Yeah,
because they basically made 64 games.
Yeah, that's what makes them interesting and fun, because you get to experience every character's storyline,
every side of the same story.
Even though the same story has been told for every single iteration of those games.
Yeah, ever since the writing of those stone tablets more than 1,000 years ago, whatever, Dynasty Warriors 15, you still got to go to the Hulao Gate. Lubu is still going to appear. It's not a surprise anymore.
Oh my God, dude. I'm so glad that they kind of just stopped with the English voice acting with those games, because, man, I don't know.
The Japanese is a treat. But the English, there's only so many ways to record. I have defeated an enemy officer, and I promise you that number is less than 64, because they use the same guy. They were like, just lower this time, lower, say it lower. Or what they would do is they'd be like, okay, this guy's thing is justice. He likes justice. So I've defeated him in the name of justice. And then he would, in the name of justice, I've opened this gate. And you're like, bro, cool it with the justice. We are okay about it. It's like Nightmare in Soul Calibur, how he only ever talks about souls. No matter what button you push to taunt, he'll be like, souls, bring them to me. Or he'll be like, I need souls. Freaking souls now. Holy crap. I really need some souls. Yeah. I may have gotten off on a tangent there. I'm sorry.
No, I love it, man. But
maybe there's only one Japanese word for justice, so they were like, yeah, that's his thing. That's his thing.
What else can we use? Can we not use? Okay, we'll use justice again.
Those are all justice. Okay, justice it is.
I do it in the name of
peace.
Peace. So you killed.
It wouldn't be him.
500?
Somebody else has got peace. There's a dude, and now they add so many characters. I think I have. Here's my Steam list. I have Dynasty Warriors 5 on the PC. They ran out of weapons. Okay, they want everyone to have a distinct weapon. So one guy has a gun. Shane, he has a gun. I'm not kidding you right now. He's got a big barrel log that's been hollowed out, and it shoots spears rapidly. And that's his main weapon: a gun, a Gatling gun made of infinite spears. There's another guy, even weirder. He fights with a brush. Do you think the brush does a lot of damage? It doesn't, okay? Because it's a brush. You're going to paint the enemies to death? It's a brush. So I'm just saying, I'd rather that guy have like a sword that you call something else than have to dig around. This guy has a book that he fights with. This guy hits people with scrolls. And this guy has a brush.
Man, Lord. But I love those games so much.
They're so fun.
What is it? It's Lubu!
Boo! As he's like flying off in the air. It's Lubu!
Oh God, Lubu. All right, I need to get back to the other part of this.
Brush weapons wasn't on your list? You didn't want to talk about paintbrush fighting?
No, but we're kind of getting it. We're getting into difficulty in games, and this is kind of a debate that I've seen on some forums, and I wanted to get your thoughts. Should there be cheat codes returning to single player games?
What do you mean? Like, not that you buy, like in Tony Hawk. You're talking about cheat codes that are a string of numbers and letters that you put in?
Right. Yeah. Because why I bring that up is, to my knowledge, because you play PC, I do not, because I don't have a PC. I do have Steam on my big Mac, but you know, it's a MacBook, and it's not really designed for like high powered PC games.
Okay.
So I haven't really got into PC gaming, but to my knowledge, there are ways that you can just basically hack your single player game. Like if you're playing, Baldur's Gate or whatever new RPGs that are out there, you can just use the CLUA console. You can use the command console to type in like add experience or remove enemy or something like that, and no one really bats an eye to that. Everyone's just like, hey, if you want to play it like that, that's fine, that's totally cool. And I always wondered, like, why is it that Sony or Xbox or any console game, really, any of the newer generation consoles since the PS3 or Xbox 360, that you aren't able to do that via like Game Shark codes or all those other Game Genie, Code Breaker. I used to use all that stuff from my original PlayStation all the time, and I just want to know why they don't allow for it.
There's two things that have changed the climate. We'll talk about three things that changed between back in the golden ages of cheat codes and now. One is that cheat codes, there was a big there was like an industry behind it, as in like they put cheat codes in the game so that you would buy Nintendo Power magazines, so that you remember those books that were like 50,000 cheat codes, and you were like, oh yeah, Mom, I'm gonna have 50,000 cheat codes, and they don't tell you that you need 50,000 games to even start with that or whatever. Yeah. Which, by the way, the most mind-boggling thing that has ever happened to me in a video game was when my brother and I were playing Jungle Strike on the Sega Genesis, and we were gonna warp to level 2 because we sucked at the game and we had taken that long to beat level 1. We were gonna warp to level 2, and in those days they give you, kind of like I think how they saved in Mega Man or some of the Mega Man, they instead of saving, they give you the code, right?
Yeah, the password.
The password, you put in it again and you start right back where you did with that many lives and everything. Yeah. So we typed in our password wrong. We changed one letter to something else, and it teleported us to level 10. And there was never any like, I have never had anything like that happen like in my life since. I've never been that lucky about anything else. I've never won in roulette. I've never won the lottery. But that's the closest thing I've ever come to winning the lottery, was we put in a letter wrong and we warped to level 10 and we freaked out and we were like, well, maybe that letter is the special letter. No, it was just a coincidence. And this is a string of like 30 letters and numbers. Like you had to take out the book, the manual it came with had notes in the back, and you had to write down every single letter and number. Yep. Before the screen changes, like you had to go fast. I mean, it was terrible. It was absolutely terrible.
And also, with those guys,
golden age. Sorry, go ahead. I was gonna say the golden age of those codes. The codes were for like you needed to go. So once the internet came out and you could go online and get those codes for free, they don't. I think that's why they don't have like a string of codes and numbers. The second thing that has changed has to do with like single player and no achievements. Has to do with achievements, because and even on console they take achievements very, very seriously. Okay,
yeah.
Achievements as in you played the vanilla game, you didn't change anything, you didn't hack anything, but you got these things to happen, and so that's a big deal because you got like Xbox points or whatever.
Can I stop you there? That could be mitigated. Red Dead Redemption, GTA, those games have cheat codes built in. And when you enable those, however, achievements are cut off. You can't do it. The game registers that you have cheat codes enabled and says you can't make achievements. So wouldn't that be mitigated?
Yes. Well, that's what they did for a while. But that, especially on PC, is like you're changing like one Boolean variable from not having cheat codes to having cheat codes and disabling achievements, and it's very, very easy to hack. Like there's even a mod for City Skylines that came out that says you can still use, magic buildings or whatever, which are disabled if you have cheats on. You can still get achievements no matter what mods you have, because that's what they try to do. They try to say, okay, if you have a mod, then we're going to disable the achievements. And now there's a mod that says, okay, all we did was watch and wait in the code, kind of. This is how they used to do like Game Shark. They used to use like peek and poke or whatever, but they would wait till the number changed and they could see what had changed. And so now they go in and say, okay, if we change this to this, like it's possible to stop that from happening and to make that harder to hack, but it's very, very difficult. And you have to work from the very beginning saying, we're going to make 2 games, one with no cheats and achievements and one with cheats. Like you're basically doubling the amount of work you have to do if you do that. I know. So they're and then when it comes to single, like for a lot of games, the single player and the multiplayer are very, very co-related. And that was the case with Diablo, which was plagued. The original Diablo was plagued with such a huge amount of hacks because all of your like weapons and stuff you had were stored in a text file that you could edit on your computer. So you could go in, you would feel like a super elite hacker when you open up a text file and changed it to like, you look down until it said like crappy sword, and then you wrote super awesome mega sword. And when you launched the game again, it would be like, this is what you had.
Yeah.
And they had like making it not hacky for Diablo 2 and Diablo 3. Multiplayer was like one of the biggest challenges that Blizzard had, like from the get-go. And so now they use all kinds of different techniques to like keep that from. It's not. What I mean is, it's not as simple as just saying, "Ooh, someone's cheating. That means that we make this and this not okay for them and stuff."
Okay, all right. You're starting to paint the picture better for me.
It's a bleak picture.
Well, I mean, it's obviously possible. Or they just don't care. I mean, look at Pillars of Eternity. I was looking that up, see if you can use the CLUA command console, and you can. Okay. Obviously they don't care that much about achievements.
Some developers don't. Like, in fact, Just Cause 3, a large mechanic of Just Cause 3 where you get to detach your rope and chain it to other ropes, they were inspired by a mod that somebody had made. Like some developers are like, "Ooh, no mods, we're shutting that down." But then others are like, so every time you launch the game, like it'll, Ubisoft, for example, it would like check on Uplay to make sure that everything you have is what you're supposed to have with no additions and no changes. And then you
I mean, and you brought up the point of some developers. Let's talk about Bethesda. Bethesda, it seems to me, has
very mod friendly.
Like, hey, if you want to change our game, go for it, kind of thing.
Well, some of the the modding community brings things that you didn't think of to make your game more fun. Like I can't play a vanilla Skyrim run anymore because there's a handful of Skyrim mods that I have to have that make the game fun. Like, for example, unread books glow. It makes it so that any book that you've read just appears normal, but any book that you haven't read either glows blue for a normal book or red for a power-up book. So that means you can look at a bookshelf and see which ones you have and haven't read without... Right. It's like something that was so bone simple to do and so obvious that changes the game completely and makes it like anybody that was, I'm sure there's a mod out there for Witcher 3 that adds a fast travel at Crow's Perch. God, I'm sure there is. That's one thing they needed, one thing. And somebody just said, here it is, and all of a sudden the game is twice as fun.
Yeah.
So it's not always like, it's sometimes people are like, ooh, modding, that's just if you want your character to be Sonic the Hedgehog and run around. And there is that, obviously. Obviously, my character's Sonic the Hedgehog in every game that I can make him.
Yeah, it's just, my thing is, it for me, being as a picky as a gamer as I am, and I don't expect the developers to cater to me, just me, because I'm this selfish, gamer that doesn't want a whole bunch of challenge in my game.
Okay.
But at the same time, I can't be the only one. That's why they make an easy mode. They make an easy mode for most games because of gamers like me.
Okay.
So I feel like certain games are missing out on a certain amount of clientele because of their difficulty. Am I right? Is that something wrong of me to say?
Yeah, I would say so. And I also think, have you gotten to a point where you're like, I've played enough games to where it's hard to throw something at me that I haven't seen before, or like you come to a puzzle and you're like, ooh, I've actually seen this in another game, so I'm prepared for it. I think that some of the mindset behind those, I know we ripped on Dark Souls players earlier, but like sometimes you play enough games to where you already know how to do everything in every game. And so a game comes along that's like, this is a game for you. It's going to be hard for you. Like, it's going to be impossible for me and Shane because we play on easy, but it's going to be hard. It's going to be, doable if you're willing to sit down and put on the time. Now, I'm sure none of us have the time to play video games that we wish we did.
Right.
But I can't, I come home, a super long day of using my brain and I'm exhausted and I do not want to sit down and get more exhausted because I'm playing a game ever,
Yeah.
That's who easy mode is for.
Yeah. Look, the age of the gamer is growing. Like I think the median age of the gamer is what, 18 to 34?
Okay.
Something like that. I don't know. I can't. Or 18 to 45 now. I don't know, but
what are young kids doing now instead of playing video games? Drugs? Is it drugs, Shane? Is it drugs?
No, young kids are playing games too, of course, but I'm saying the games are growing up with us, you and me.
Yes. Yes.
That's why games like Last of Us are being created. Last of Us is a pretty dark video game. And Last of Us 2, from the trailer that I saw, looks pretty fucking... They're going to go off the deep end and be like, guess what? Yeah, people's arms are being chopped off.
I'm so... I'm about to explode because I know you haven't beaten it yet. And I want to talk to you about the ending when you beat it.
Yeah, I'm excited to get there.
It's famously, something to talk about.
I'm excited to get there. If Joel dies, I swear to God, I'm going to beat you and Cece senseless.
Anything could happen. I'm not going to
swear to God
it for you.
Because that's another reason why I didn't want to play that game. That's another reason why I didn't want to play the game, because I hate it when the main character dies in video games. I hate that. And I hate it in movies too. I hate that shit.
Okay.
I hate it. Don't
stop. Watch Marley and Me.
Of course not. Yeah, it's the exact same feeling. It's like, yeah, I'm not going to watch that movie because I know the dude's going to die, or the dog's going to die.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, if he dies, I'm going to hold you guys responsible. I'm going to find you.
Just beat it. Just beat it, and we'll talk about it, and we'll talk about it.
Yeah. So,
I'm so glad you're playing that game. I'm really glad that you gave it another chance. I like there are so many, that one of my least favorite things in games, especially RPGs, is weapon durability. I think it's stupid to have to stop what you're doing and go back to town and talk to a blacksmith every 30 minutes when there's nothing fun about that at all.
No.
So, in that, and people that are pro... I've engaged in heated forum debates. I don't mind telling you, Shane. People that are pro weapon durability say it's going to force you to use weapons you wouldn't normally use, which is absolutely bogus because I put all my spec points in the weapon I wanted to use, okay? But it's I almost called it Dark Souls 2. The Last of Us offers an alternative that I really like, and what they do is they only give you ammo for guns you're not using. I don't know if you've noticed that before. I don't know if it happens like that on easy mode, because I'm not a little pansy. But they've given me
ammos of the guns I have been using. Yeah.
Okay.
Because I am playing on easy.
You would say you have enough ammo.
Yeah. Well,
in the stuff you like to use.
Look, man, the ammo thing I'll bring up again. It's like, man, I just strangled this dude. I know he has a revolver. I know,
but it only
this-
had one shot left. No matter how many times you kill him, there's only
you know
one
what?
shot left.
And another thing.
Let's hear it.
Okay.
Let it all out.
I'm letting it all out, man. But this bothers me to no end. And I guess this is a video game thing. It's like it's like a video game thing. They'll just add a little bit of difficulty in there just to be like, oh, we need to throw in this here because look, man, Last of Us is supposed to be a survival horror, supposed to be kind of realistic. You know, you could die if you don't play your cards right, kind of thing. Look, dude,
Sure.
if I shoot a guy in the face, I don't care what kind of fucking helmet he has on. If you shoot a dude in the face, he's at least going unconscious. All right? That's just how it goes. And also, if I shoot a dude 3 times in the chest, center mass, yeah, he should be dead. Why is he not dead?
Oh, I'm cracking up. You mean no matter how crappy your weapon is, in real life, a fast-moving piece of metal would do some kind of damage to a flesh that has bone and brains behind it. You would hope. And I found that I can't make fun of you because I was saying the same thing. I played through Borderlands 2 normal and then like very hard. You beat the game again and now everybody's harder. And then you beat it again the third time. By the time you get to the third time, you're standing there and it takes you like 125 headshots to bring down one enemy. And I was like, no, his head is more metal. His head is full of bullets now instead of brains.
Well, see, I make the distinction between a game like Borderlands and The Last of Us because the Borderlands games, and I haven't played them, but from what I've seen...
Oh, you should. They're fun.
From what I've seen is they're more cartoonish. A little bit.
Okay.
You know?
Okay, yeah.
And so that kind of thing I can understand is like, okay, this guy's taking a lot more ammo to kill.
But if your thing is realism, if you're like, this game is in the real world, there's not magic, okay? Yeah, then guns have to be real too. I mean, it just has to. I accept that there has never once been a realistic game ever made, ever. The only thing, like, not even a flight simulator, because if you crash the plane, you get to fly again afterward. Okay, that's not realistic. But the only thing that was close to realism. Have you ever heard of Penn and Teller's Desert Bus? Have you ever heard of a game called Desert Bus?
I've seen the angry video game nerd play it, and he explains it very well. It is quite literally just driving a bus.
That's the closest thing we've ever had to realism. So it burns me when people are like, I want it to be, well, do you want it to be realism? Because realism means that you have to go find the car keys in Grand Theft Auto 3 if you want to drive, and you have to fill up on fuel, okay, if you want realism. The weapons need to break because that's more realistic. Get out of here with that.
Yeah. I mean, but yeah, that's the only three major gripes I have with Last of Us. And then what's brought me to is like, man, God damn it, I wish
I could watch you. I wish I could be there with you while you're playing it. It sounds so funny to watch you shoot someone in the head and then get killed by them and say that.
Well, I'm just like, dude, I shot you with a hunting rifle, straight up and you went like this. Ugh. Like your head went straight back.
It's buckshot, Shane. It's made for deer.
It's not buckshot. It is straight up fucking 54 caliber.
You have to progress through the game before they give you the elephant gun. And no, you don't get to pick it up off somebody because that would be too easy and you're in the zombie apocalypse.
I mean, yeah. The Last of Us. I love it. I still love the game. Because I've gotten the groove of the game, and I'm gotten over the learning curve, and now it's really fun. It also is tough too, because both time I've played Last of Us, I've played Assassin's Creed beforehand.
Okay, and so you want to be able to do more, kind of like you want to be able to run up a wall or something.
Well, no, it's like
Mister. I just complained about realism.
It's different because Assassin's Creed is slightly more fantastical than The Last of Us.
Okay.
Because Assassin's Creed is, you're dealing with time travel. Or not time travel, but you're dealing with, going into memories through DNA and magic science.
Yeah, well, there's zombies, okay? That doesn't just... I mean,
hey,
there's zombies that somehow don't rot no matter how long it takes. They're decomposing bodies that don't freeze, burn, wander off into the ocean, or rot because of flies. I mean, shouldn't that make you mad too?
Yeah. Look, man. Not every game
I'm
is
not
created.
trying to goad you.
Not every game is created equal. I think we should look at every game at an individual basis.
Okay.
And right now, I'm looking at Last of Us in an individual basis. This is the picture you're trying to paint for me, and I have problems with the trees that you painted. Okay?
Yeah. Okay.
The paints.
Fair enough, man. Fair enough.
Slightly more brown than my trees would normally should be in a painting.
Well, hit me with another cool topic. Hit me with something on your list, because I mean, it's not a school night or anything, but
yeah.
I am on Knoxville time, so it's 7:50 for you.
Did you hear about the swatting incident that happened a couple weeks ago?
Oh my gosh, absolutely horrific, man. Absolutely horrific.
And
do you want to just hear my thoughts? You want to just hear me go off?
I haven't heard a lot of people fucking talking about it. This crime is twofold. Number one, the swatting prank is fucking dumb, and
yeah.
Number two, the cop straight up shot the dude that answered the door.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's really, I heard more about the swatting dude being dumb, and I'm so glad there's going to be justice, and he's going to be charged with I'm so glad. And it's like, well, what does it say that there is this like militarization of police that is so gung-ho about shooting anybody that they see, and then afterward, this is what drives me crazy, is afterward they're like, oh crap, he was unarmed. Because if he had had a gun, then it would have been okay that we just straight up shot him, which that mindset just absolutely makes the Second Amendment useless. What's the point of the Second Amendment if you can't hold a gun, or not hold one, if you can't have a gun on your person, and then cops can justifiably kill you if you do? And did you see that? I know you saw that guy crawling, right? That guy was from Tennessee.
Oh,
you know what I'm talking about? They're barking out orders to him.
The one in Arizona?
I think so. They're barking out orders to him.
Yeah.
Okay. And they're saying, cross your legs and crawl toward us. And and it's just like, how in the world did that cop get off and not have any, punishment of any kind? So, how in the world?
Yeah, dude, this isn't just limited to a certain, because a lot of the conversation for police brutality is, based on race, and you hear that you hear that conversation a lot. And I'm not saying that conversation shouldn't be had, for sure, but I think the police brutality thing crosses all humans, and it's yes. Evident. It's evident in the statistics, and it's evident in all the videos that we watch, including this swatting one. That guy, the guy who got shot, wasn't black, was he? He was a Caucasian individual, correct?
Yeah, correct. But I mean, they train, and I've talked to a cop, and it was the kind of guy who's my friend, so I'll rip on him every now and then, and I'll talk about donuts and all this other stuff. But he's told me before that they're trained, like they have a always on mentality, like at any time, no matter where you are or what you're doing, anyone that you see could be a threat. Like they could have a gun and they could whip around and they could kill. And that's how, like, they are that like strung and ready to go. And every day that nothing like that happens, it's like dry fire in a bow. It's like having all that like pent up readiness and pent up energy, right, and nowhere for it to go. And I think, maybe, if you could distinguish and say, okay, these are civilians. These are the people I'm here to protect. I'm here to uphold the law for these people. This is not a hidden enemy. Or even, there's a lot of talk about how disciplined the military is in contrast to what the cops are doing, because the military has these rules of engagement and very, very strict accountability if you kill an unarmed person. Very, very strict like follow up, and they're very serious about being like the US's ambassadors in these countries, because they know like what a big deal it is. Cops don't have any accountability. I don't see any accountability, because they get away with it and everything's fine afterwards. So why would we expect them to stop?
Well, I mean, you've said a couple things there, and I kind of want to unpack them. So the first thing that you said was, you know, when they walk around town, they don't see a lot of violence, and they're taught to be ready to go at all times. To my knowledge, they're shown things that could go wrong if they don't follow certain protocols, like if they're pulling somebody over and they don't have their hands on the wheel. That guy could have a gun, and they'll show them a video. Look, in this instance, this guy did have a gun, and he was on the run, he was wanted, and he shot the cop and killed him. They have, at a certain level, they have to be disciplined, but at the same time, like, the most disciplined individual doesn't want to die. So
I agree.
So it's such a tough, and Joe Rogan says this all the time, and I'm inclined to agree with him. He's like, that's an impossible job. Number one, it's impossible. It's impossible to do correctly, especially when you're not given sufficient training. I think Joe Rogan had on the ex-Baltimore police chief or police guy who was in police, and he was very outspoken against police brutality in Baltimore, and he discussed it extensively on the show. And he said that they don't go through any sort of martial arts training. Like, I think the only thing they go through is like Aikido, which is just wrist grabs. Or like
deadly wrist grabs.
Like Steven Seagal's type shit. And
the Napoleon Dynamite guy, that kind, like with the pants of that kind of style, yeah.
Yeah, so I think the problem is, and it's so funny because the cops are taught that dangerous things could happen, even though the statistics show that we live in the most peaceful time that has ever existed,
right.
At least in America.
You're right. You're right.
All forms of violent crime has been down for like 40 years. The highest point it ever was, or the highest point it was since now, was 1993, and it's just been gone down since. So it's like, I don't know how you solve
it's like,
it.
Why do you need another giant SWAT team, like huge vehicle transport with a gun on top?
Right.
Like, why is that what we're spending our money on? This like increased militarization, as in like give them weapons that no civilian is allowed to own, give them body armor that no civilian is allowed to own.
Well, yeah, I actually want to touch on the actual incident that I brought up, though, because or swatting incidents in general. So a call is brought in saying this is a hostage situation. There's, this, that, a guy is holding people hostage. So let me get this straight. And according to the story, and if I remember correctly, an officer just knocked on the door. There's a hostage situation going on, and the officer knocked on the door, and the dude opened it willingly and was like, "What are you doing here?" Like, and then he got shot. Like,
I personally don't know enough about the details to answer that.
My thing is, like,
speak to that. I heard that. I mean, my third hand thing that I really should have looked up if we were going to talk about this was that they're outside and he opens the door, standing in the doorway basically.
So
with a bunch of light shining on him.
I'm reading off of the LA Times about the incidents, and it says law enforcement and cybersecurity experts believe the incident in Kansas last week was the first swatting call to result in a death in the U.S. That's the first time it's ever happened.
Yeah.
But some, obviously, and rightfully so, some say it was inevitable that such a hoax would lead to a fatality, which it obviously had.
I don't want to call it a hoax. I feel like if you call that a hoax, then yelling fire in a crowded theater is a hilarious prank, right? Like you're doing something so irresponsible and wasting so many valuable, like that SWAT team or those cops could have been called somewhere else where they could have done something better. And you, in your, infinite arrogance, are like, this is all about me and I want to see if I can do this. Like, swatting is like that. I mean, it's just so reprehensible, I feel like.
And what's sad is that a lot of states don't have any laws for swatting because it's, truthfully told,
I'm sure people get away with it, yeah.
Well, it's only happened 400 and something times, according to statistics.
To the same person?
No. No, but just total, which thankfully, but still, once is too much. And I think after this, hopefully there will be, very big consequences for doing something this fucking terrible. And like what goes through a person's head to give someone an address that he thinks is correct, which obviously was not. That's what's also sad about the whole thing. I mean, it would have been sad if it was the correct address, but this guy who got killed had nothing to do with any of it.
He doesn't even play video games. That's what his mom said.
I hope he gets life. I hope he gets life. I don't really believe in the death penalty anymore, but my mind's open to be changed. But like, I hope he stays in fucking prison for the rest of his damn life.
It is that bad, and I wish everybody thought of it as being that bad. But I can't. I don't know. I don't know why there are people out there that do what they do. We were talking earlier about cheating, and I know you like cheat codes, but you said only single player because you know how stupid it is to go online. Like, it's not fun when you're playing against hackers, and it's not fun when I was talking to one of my friends, and he was talking about how fun it was to put on these hacks and play Counter-Strike and kill everybody. And in my mind, I'm like, who are you? Why are you the way? Why would you? Why would that be fun to you? Yeah. Why do you want to go out and ruin people's lives?
Especially young people. Like young people just love to fuck with people. Remember, like I remember when I was a kid, and I mean, this is obviously no excuse, but when we were kids and young teenagers, we have so much testosterone in our system. All we want to do is fight and fuck. We just, we do things that are obviously terrible, that obviously we shouldn't be doing.
Okay, are you trying to tell me that when you lit a bag of dookie and put it on somebody's porch, that's the same thing as what people do now when they call and they're like,
no,
hey, and they know exactly what to say. It was the perfect, like, send a SWAT team to this house. Go, absolute solid gold textbook. This is what needs to happen.
I'm actually not even talking about that. And I'm just saying in general, just like dumb, young people do. He's personally not young. The guy who got arrested he's 25. The dude's 25 years old. Yeah. Should have definitely known better. And he's actually been arrested for this several times. He went to jail for the exact same thing for 3 years. He recently got out.
Wait, he's got to stand next to the murderer that's like, I killed 6 people. He's like, I swatted somebody. I sent a SWAT team to their house.
Yeah, he's in for a treat when he goes to jail. That's for damn sure.
Yeah. Shane, listen, man, it's been fun. I know you might have more. What if we saved it for next time?
Yeah, let's save it for next time.
Actually, I know by the next time, something even crazier is going to happen between now and then.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Well, I thank you for your time, and I thank you for your wonderful conversation, Evan McKee. Always fun.
I love it, Shane. We'll do it again soon. Thank you so much for having me on the show. It is truly an honor to be able to talk about some great games with a great friend.
Oh man, truer words were never spoken. All right, buddy.
I'll talk to you soon, brother.
Yeah, dude.